Hey guys, you might be asking why I'm all dressed up. It's because it's time for another episode of Brain Cancer Diaries. See how excited Rosie is too? Anyway, this episode features a guy I find highly motivational. Hope you do too. His name is Paul Moran. Welcome to another edition of Brain Cancer Diaries. I'm here with Paul Moran. He does not have brain cancer, but as I've said before, one of the things I've learned on this journey is all cancers are connected. We all have our burdens to bear, our lives to kill, so to speak, in different ways. I have balance issues. I'm sure you have daily pain just from where your cancer is located.
Yeah.
And I know one of the things I really want to get into too is the fact that you are a 7-year survivor now, and you were
Yeah.
not supposed to make it this long. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'll give you the quick elevator ride kind of synopsis. So May 24th, 2012, I got diagnosed with rectal cancer. They told me that it had spread to my liver. I've had 3 different liver resections, one in Vegas, one at John Wayne Cancer Center, and one at UCLA. And went from my liver to my lungs, and my lungs to my lymph nodes. So I've had a bunch of different chemos. I've had irinotecan, oxaliplatin, 5-FU, which I think is just a hilarious name for it because it's like FU for sure. But yeah, a lot of infections and crazy things along the way. I deal with a lot of side effects from like the radiation. I have so much scar tissue, which is this big one. I don't know if the light picks it up, but this has been opened up 3 different times. And then I got one there. All these are drains from abscesses. I had a collapsed lung from a bad biopsy that landed me in ICU. And I had ICU-induced psychosis for 14 days where I was just basically in a hallucinatory kind of state for like 2 weeks, didn't sleep. So, yeah, I've had a lot of fun things happen.
And that sort of leads me to, because I think where a lot of people know you and by the shirt, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu has been a big part of your life, especially coaching. You've done very well at that. Up to one of the biggest stages, ADCC. So that's pretty impressive. I know one of the things, like for me, having done jiu-jitsu for so long, like there's a jiu-jitsu off the mat sort of mindset, just the toughness that it breeds in you. Because as I've said before, like I don't think you fight cancer so much as you endure it. You know, our bodies are vessels, and what's going to happen to our body is going to happen to our body. But mentally, who we are stays the same. And I think jiu-jitsu has been very helpful with that, because whether it's somebody just trying to choke the crap out of you and you're enduring it until you can get out of that horrible position, or you're just getting through a rotten day where you just feel super fatigued and icky.
For the longest time, I used to think that jiu-jitsu just happened on the mats, and the technical precision and competition was kind of one of the highest things you could do. And I've since realized that that's so limiting if we only think of jiu-jitsu for being on the mat. Sergio's got this just another lion to kill kind of ethos, and it all derived from him going to his first coach, or his coach Osvaldo Alves, when he was 16, and he just got beat up by everybody there. I mean, Vale Tudo, old school, closed fist.
Yeah.
And he showed up again, and he was a small kid and got beat up by these adults until he started beating them. And eventually people would come to challenge Sergio, and he said it didn't matter how long the line was at the door, or if he was walking out the door and the line was, all of a sudden formed on the street. No matter how many people came at him, he would give them the honor of a lion, but then he'd go right through them and kill them. And he'd stack those lions high. So he said it didn't matter how big the pile was or how long the line was. What was right in front of you, that's your objective. And that's just kind of what I've adopted. My sister's got a big tattoo, got the little lion killer. And people started getting it tattooed, and it's taken on a bigger meaning. So I don't take credit for that. Huge thank you to Lisa Del Toro for doing the design, and Scramble did a huge rash guard for me way back in the day. And paid for a lot of my chemo. So huge shout out to Scramble and those guys. Yeah, that's kind of like where that started.
Yeah. So, just want to talk a little bit about mindfulness and also to the secular Buddhism. That's something that I've been like kind of getting into. It's just the idea that it doesn't really matter what your personal faith is. I mean, the Buddhism blends well with any religion, really.
Rubina Corton has a great video on YouTube. I think it's called Be Your Own Therapist, and she equates the Buddha as being the first cognitive psychologist. And it's really about mastering kind of our reaction so we can respond rather than react. And I think that once you kind of get control over your own mind, it's like Buddhism's kind of like jiu-jitsu for your own mind. And you get in there and you can kind of see what leads to your happiness, what leads to your suffering, and how to water those seeds of what we want to grow in us with our attention and focus. And I think that when we draw it down to mindfulness, another way I kind of explain mindfulness is savoring the moment. You know, it's just that pure get enveloped in what you're doing right now. When you spend time in that state, you find that you don't need to chase a job. You don't need to chase power, money, sex, any of those things. The conditions for your happiness are a lot lower than we think, and they're a lot more available to us, but we need to slow down enough in order to actually witness that.
This whole ride of having cancer, doesn't matter what type of cancer you have or if it's some other struggle like you've had recovering from some triple bypass surgery or even in vitro fertilization or whatever, just sort of the psychological ups and downs. It's like there's so many unexpecteds that happen. I mean, like on your journey, you've had, I mean, you're supposed to be dead 5 years ago at least.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's like for me, after I did chemo and radiation the first round, my tumor had actually grown, which was kind of a big bummer. That was not a happy day. So there's lots of ups and downs and things that all the doctors tell you are going to happen that don't happen. And just sort of how that idea of slowing down comes in and taking one line at a time kind of helps you get through the struggle and find happiness in life. And that's the thing that's the most important.
I've been on chemo that I can't get something out of the fridge without having oven mitts on because of the cold sensitivity. You know, I used to have to shit into a bag on my stomach that I'd have to change. I was at a meeting once with Saulo Ribeiro and my coach Sergio, and we were going to do this cool video thing, and the bag started leaking, and I feel, you know, a stream of crap going down my stomach. Oh, excuse me, guys. Back in 1 second. Had to go change my bag out and come back in. And it's like, you know, my two idols there. But I'm grateful now that I can go to the bathroom, that I don't have a bag. I'm grateful that I can drink ice water without feeling pain all down my stomach. So many of those things. And chemo will knock you back. I mean, it was getting to the point that I was having maybe 2 good days for every 14 or 12 bad days. So those 2 days, it's important to like really live as much as I could, and then find the moments. Like I said, the conditions for our happiness are more often than not available to us, but we got to see it. One of the things Sergio has always said is that it's not the strongest, the fastest, or the most technical guy that wins or that you have to be scared of. It's the one that'll adapt the most and the fastest. And that's what I've had to do my whole life. As soon as I get used to one chemo, it doesn't work. I got to switch to another. As soon as that doesn't work, I have a surgery. I got to adapt to the surgery, you know? So it's always this constant adaptation. I think that the focus of being on the mat all the time, like I was alluding to earlier, kind of pigeonholes us into thinking jiu-jitsu is just a physical art. I've sat in radiation where I was getting radiation hit on my tumor, and I would sit there and I'd pretend in my mind that I was stepping onto the mat, and that, you know, the biggest, meanest, like Hidalgo times Bernardo Faria times, you know, Galvao, like technical wise, guy was coming at me, and in his gi, he just had this giant patches of cancer, pain, suffering. And I'd go out there, my 135-pound self now, and get my grips, and I would throw that son of a bitch to the mat, and I'd armbar it and choke it. Because if you're sitting there in radiation, you got nothing better to do, so why not practice a little mental jiu-jitsu and try to shrink that tumor inside me by choking the hell out of it. You know, I'd get my collar grips and I would choke this in my mind and watch the tumor shrink. Sergio always made a point to have us do 3 10-minute rolls at the end of class. And then he'd always ask, hey, you want to come back out? If he ever asked me, I did my absolute best to always say yes, even if I went out and just got beat up for 10 minutes. Because learning how to get beat up is a skill in and of itself too, and I didn't ever see myself as sick. I saw myself as having cancer. The loneliness you get and the abandonment you get by people you think were there, that's one of the most brutal things. All your day-to-day social problems, relationship problems, work problems, that stuff doesn't stop for anybody with cancer. So cancer's it was a big magnifying glass for me that kind of forced me to look at what's important. And in a lot of ways, I say it's like fire. It burns away what's kind of garbage. And if you can let it fuel you rather than burn you up, it can be quite motivating and quite strong. And it's like life is a battlefield, and you're going to get hit with arrows. It's like that, and the arrows are suffering. There's no way around it. It's going to happen. But if you get hit in the chest with an arrow and just go like Ace Ventura, scream at it the whole time, I mean, it's not really doing anything to help the wound, right? It's actually adding, it's like taking another arrow and jabbing it into the same spot. It's going to hurt even worse and do more damage. If you search for, why was this sent to me? Or, who sent that arrow? Again, doesn't help the fact that you got an arrow lodged in you. What you got to do is stop, address the problem, let yourself heal. And that's a good source of energy and use of time. Not the, woe is me, or it's that guy's fault. That's not getting you anywhere. It's on you. No one's going to save you except yourself. There's no external refuge. So if you don't like the situation that you're in, see what you can do about it yourself. Don't wait for a cure. Don't wait for salvation or anything. Do it now. And you've got a lot more power in you than you think.
Okay, so that's another episode of Brain Cancer Diaries in the can. Hope you enjoyed listening to Paul as much as I did. Certainly a lot of food for thought, a lot of different things we got into that might be helpful to you whether you have cancer or not. If you want to find out a little bit more about Paul, he actually had a podcast for a number of years called Open Mat Radio, which you can still find on the internet. Scramble, man, you got to re-release those. Another line to kill rash guards. Those things are sweet. Anyway, until next time, I will see you guys. Keep on rocking and rolling. I'll do it if you do it. All right? Peace out. I love you all.